Good morning. Today's lecture is about the compartments of leg, and we will discuss this anterior compartment of the leg and also the related portion, which is the dorsum of the foot. So we will start with this superficial structures. So first of all, this deep fascia of the leg, which is known as crural fascia, and this is a thickened fascia, and it is the continuation of the fascia lata of the thigh, and it envelops this leg all around. So start with this anterior border of the tibia, which is palpable subcutaneous structure. So anterior border of the tibia, and from here it is approaching laterally, and it envelops this leg all around and is attached to the posterior border of the tibia. So that's how it envelops this leg all around, and superficial to this is these subcutaneous nerve and these subcutaneous veins. Subcutaneous vein, we will discuss how there is a arch, dorsal venous arch, which is formed here, and its medial continuation is this great saphenous vein, and there is a lateral continuation which is the small saphenous vein. But here these are the cutaneous nerve. So just on the medial side, which is palpable subcutaneous portion, this surface, the shin of the tibia, its superior aspect just below the patella, this is supplied by the infrapatellar branch of the saphenous nerve, and below that the shin of the tibia, this is supplied by the saphenous nerve. And this lateral aspect, this extensor compartment, as well as more lateral to this is the peroneal compartment. The skin over that is supplied above by this lateral cutaneous nerve of the leg, which is the branch of common fibular nerve, and in the below the mid portion of the leg, this portion is replaced by another cutaneous nerve, which is known as the superficial fibular nerve. Now this shin of tibia, this is palpable throughout, and it is having this insertion of three tendons from the three compartment of the thigh, and they form this gyro pattern, or known as the pes anserinus. So we have already discussed that. So anteriormost is the tendon of the sartorius, then behind and below is that of gracilis, and much behind is the tendon of semitendinosus. So they form this pes anserinus just below the medial condyle of the tibia, in the upper portion of the shin of the tibia, which is palpable, which is the subcutaneous portion. That is palpable on the medial side. You can always palpate that. Let's understand the arrangement of these muscular compartment with respect to the bone of the leg. Now this is the tibia, the medial bone, this is the fibula, the lateral bone. They are interconnected by this interosseous membrane, and this is a sectional view of both. So both bone, they are triangular in section roughly, and they are interconnected by this interosseous membrane, and they are attached to their interosseous border. So this is the interosseous border, and also this is the anterior border, and this is the posterior border of the fibula. This is the anterior border of the tibia, and this is the posterior border of the tibia. So between these anterior border, this compartment is the extensor compartment. This is the extensor surface of fibula, extensor surface of the tibia. So enclosing that, the crural fascia, it runs from this anterior border of the tibia, enveloping it all around, and is attached to the posterior border of the tibia. So this portion is enclosed, this portion. This is for the extensor compartment from the anterior border of the tibia to this anterior border of the fibula. This portion is for the extensor compartment. Then from anterior border of the fibula to the posterior border of the fibula, this is the peroneal compartment, the lateral compartment. and from this posterior border of the fibula to the posterior border of the tibia. This large compartment is the posterior compartment. Now let's understand these compartments of leg with respect to the sectional. So these are the compartments of leg shown in the sectional view. This is the shin of the tibia, the medial surface of the tibia, and this is the anterior border. And from here, this is the crural fascia, which is attached and enveloping these compartments, and posteriorly it is attached to the posterior border of the tibia. And this is the interosseous membrane running between the interosseous border of the tibia to the interosseous border of the fibula. So this is, and there are these two septa, this anterior facial septum or the intermuscular septum. It is running from this crural fascia to the anterior border of the fibula, and this is the posterior intermuscular septum. It is running from this crural fascia to the posterior border of the fibula. Now between these anterior intermuscular septa and posterior intermuscular septa lies the peroneal compartment. Anterior to this anterior intermuscular septum and this extensor or the lateral surface of the tibia lies the anterior or the extensor compartment, and between this posterior intermuscular septum and the posterior border of the tibia, here lies this bulky posterior or the flexor compartment, which is divided by this transverse septa into the superficial and deep portion, but this is the posterior or the flexor compartment. So these are the three compartments of the leg with respect to these bones and their septa. And these compartments of leg, they also follow one compartment, one nerve principle as shown here. The nerve of this anterior or the extensor compartment is this deep peroneal nerve. The nerve of this peroneal compartment is the superficial peroneal nerve, and the nerve of the posterior compartment. Now this anterior facial compartment or the extensor compartment, it contains these muscles: tibialis anterior, extensor hallucis longus, extensor digitorum longus, and a small muscle which is the peroneus tertius. Now the blood supply of this compartment is the anterior tibial artery mainly, and this is again reinforced by in the lower portion by the perforating branches of the fibular artery. And nerve supply of this compartment is the branch of the common peroneal or common fibular nerve, which is known as a deep fibular nerve or deep peroneal nerve. Nerve root being L4, L5. And these muscles, they are primarily responsible for the dorsiflexion of the foot at the ankle when they are acting from above, and when they are acting from below, they pull the body forward on the fixed foot, like during walking and running. So now this uh, neurovascular portion, anterior tibial artery and deep peroneal nerve, they run just anterior to the deeply placed interosseous membrane. Now this is the overview of these muscles. This is the medial surface of the tibia, which is palpable. This is the shin of the tibia, and just lateral to this is this extensor compartment. As we have already discussed, it is between this lateral surface or the extensor surface of the tibia and this extensor surface or the medial surface of fibula and the intermuscular septum. Laterally, deeply is the interosseous membrane and superficially is the crural fascia. Here lies this compartment, and the muscles here are just lateral to this shin of the tibia is the tibialis anterior, then palpable is this extensor digitorum longus, and between these two is this deeply seated extensor hallucis longus. And in the lower portion, as a part of this extensor digitorum longus, sometimes this is seen as the part of this extensor digitorum longus. This is the peroneus or the fibularis tertius. So these are the muscles we will discuss. The first muscle is this tibialis anterior. Tibialis anterior, it originates from this lateral condyle of the tibia and proximal half or even two-thirds of the lateral surface of the tibial shaft, and the adjoining portion of the interosseous membrane. From here the fleshy fiber they arises, and in the lower one third of the leg these fleshy fiber they transform entirely into this tendon, and they become now tendinous, and this tendon this descends through the extensor retinaculum. From the superior and inferior extensor retinaculum it descends, and it is attached to this medial and the inferior surface of the medial cuneiform and the base of the first metatarsal bone. The vascularity is by the anterior tibial artery, now supplies by the defibular nerve, and these act as this dorsiflexion at this ankle joint, and also being attached to this medial surface, it is an inverter of the foot. It raises this medial border upward. Extensor hallucis longus. This is a deep seated muscle at its origin. It arises from this middle half of the medial or extensor surface of the fibula and the adjoining part of the interosseous membrane. And from here, these deep seated fibers they emerge between this gap in the lower third of the leg, between this laterally placed extensor digitorum longus and medially placed tibialis anterior. From here these fiber emerge, and they are attached to the dorsum of the base of the distal phalanx of the great toe, and its vascularity is again anterior tibial artery, and in the lower portion it is reinforced by the branches of the perforating branches of the fibular artery and supplied by this defibular nerve. But initially it has this important relation. Initially these neurovascular portion they are lying medial to the muscle extensor hallucis longus, but in the lower portion its tendon crosses, and the neurovascular portion they becomes lateral relation to this tendon, and action is the dorsiflexion of the foot at the ankle joint and dorsiflex or extend the hallux, and this is the action which is used to test the integrity of this L5, the anterior ventral ramus of the L5. The next muscle is extensor digitorum longus. This bulky muscle it arises from the lateral condyle of the tibia and proximal 3/4 of the medial surface of the fibula, and the adjacent part of the interosseous membrane. And from here these muscle they divide into these four lateral slips, and they are inserted as the extensor expansion of these lateral four toes. We will discuss this extensor expansion later on. and the vascularity is by this anterior tibial artery, and which is reinforced in the lower portion by the perforating branches of the fibular artery. Now supplies by the defibular nerve, and these muscles, they are dorsiflexor at the ankle joint, and they extend the lateral foretoes. Next is the smallest muscle of this compartment, known as peroneus tertius or fibularis tertius, and it is often appears to be a part of extensor digitorum longus as a fifth slip from it. And this muscle, it arises from this distal third of the medial surface of fibula and the adjacent part of interosseous membrane, and it goes along with the extensor digitorum longus tendons, sharing the same synovial sheath, and it passes through this extensor reticula, and then it insert into the dorsum of base of the fifth metatarsal bone. Vascularity is by this anterior tibial artery innervated by defibular nerve, and it causes dorsiflexion at the ankle joint, and being attached to the lateral border, it raises the lateral border, so it causes eversion. Next we will discuss this extensor reticula, and these reticula, they are two in number. One is the this superior one, superior extensor reticula, and this is a band shaped portion, and this is the inferior extensor reticula, which is a Y shaped portion. And this thickening of, these are the thickening of the D fascia, crural fascia, and they prevent the bow stringing of these underlying tendon. They prevent. Now we start with the superior extensor reticula. It is band like thickening of the crural fascia, and laterally it is attached to the anterior border of the fibula, and medially it is attached to the anterior border of the tibia, and the structure passing from them are from medial to lateral are the tendon of the tibial is anterior, then the tendon of the extensor hallucis longus, then is the tendon of the extensor digitorum longus along with the peroneus tertius. Now here only the tendon of the tibial is anterior, it is enveloped in a synovial sheath. Other than that, this tendon of extensor hallucis longus and the tendon of extensor digitorum longus and peroneus tertius, they don't have any synovial sheath. And also passing are the anterior tibial vessels and defibular nerve, and only structure which is passing superficial to it is the superficial fibular nerve. Here it is shown. This is the superficial fibular nerve which is passing superficial to this superior extensor reticula, and these are the other structure. This is the deep fibular nerve, anterior tibial artery, and these are the tendon, tibialis anterior, extensor hallucis longus, extensor digitorum longus along with this peroneus tertius. And this inferior extensor reticula, which is lying distal to the superior one, this is a Y-shaped band. Y-shaped band with a stem and two limb, a proximal and a distal limb. Now the stem, it is attached to the upper surface of the calcaneus and passes medially to enclose the tendon of the peroneus tertius or fibularis tertius and extensor digitorum longus. They straddle the fiber of the stem, and from here it is bifurcated into this proximal limb and a distal limb. Proximal limb, It is attached as two layers, a deep layer and a superficial layer. This deep layer, it passes deep to the tendon of extensor hallucis longus and tibialis anterior, but superficial to the anterior tibial vessels and defibular nerve. And this superficial layer, it crosses superficial to the tendon of extensor hallucis longus and tibialis anterior, and they both finally adhere and they are attached to the medial malleolus and related border, this anterior border of this tibia. Now this distal limb, it extends downwards and medially and is blend with this deeper portion of the plantar aponeurosis and superficial to the extensor hallucis longus and tibialis anterior. This is the lateral view of the retinacula, and here this is the stem of the inferior extensor retinacula being attached to the calcaneus, this upper border of the calcaneus, and from here they are the two slips, the proximal and the distal, and they cover this underlying tendon of tibialis anterior, tendon of extensor hallucis longus, and tendon of extensor digitorum longus along with the peroneus tertius, lying most laterally, and they are ensheathed by this synovial membrane. So they have this synovial sheath. Now the anterior tibial artery is the small terminal branch of popliteal artery. It arises at the lower border of the popliteus and then passes through this gap, which is the gap in the interosseous membrane on the proximal portion. So from this posterior portion, it comes to this anterior portion. So from the calf, it is now in the anterior compartment, just anterior to the interosseous membrane, and it is accompanied by the anterior tibial veins which runs on the both side of this artery as venae comitatus. So it passes forward into the anterior compartment of leg through this opening in the upper part of the interosseous membrane, and this portion is in relation with the neck of the fibula. Then it descends on the anterior surface of the interosseous membrane accompanied by the deep peroneal nerve, and then in front of the ankle joint, the artery, it becomes the dorsalis pedis artery as it passes between these malleoli. This is now transformed into the dorsalis pedis artery. Now the branches of this anterior tibial artery, it gives two set of recurrent artery, posterior and anterior. Posterior emerges before it enters into the extensor compartment through the gap in the interosseous membrane. So it gives this posterior recurrent branch lying just anterior to the popliteus, and this anterior tibial recurrent branch, it is given in the substance of tibialis anterior. Both branches, they anastomose with the vascularity with the vessels around the knee joint. So they contribute in the anastomosis around the knee joint. Then there are muscular arteries which are given to the muscles of this compartment, to the muscles which are tibialis anterior, extensor hallucis longus, extensor digitorum longus, and peroneus tertius. These all are the lateral branches from these, and then the branches to the skin, these are the perforating artery. They pierce this deep fascia and supply the skin, and in the distal portion, it gives two set of malleolar branches, anterior malleolar branches. One towards this medial malleolus, anterior medial malleolar artery, which passes beneath this extensor hallucis longus and tibialis anterior and contribute in the anastomosis around the medial malleolus. And second is the anterior lateral malleolar artery, which passes beneath the tendon of extensor digitorum longus and contribute in the anastomosis. Now this anterior tibial artery as it descend downs between these two malleoli, midway between these, its name changes into dorsalis pedis artery. So as it crosses just anterior to the ankle joint, it is now known as dorsalis pedis artery. And here these are the malleolar branches which are shown. This is the lateral malleolar branch and this is the medial malleolar. Now the nerve of this compartment is this deep fibular nerve or deep peroneal nerve, and it is one of the terminal branches of the common peroneal nerve. And as it winds around the neck of the fibula, this common fibular nerve, in the substance of the peroneus longus, it divides into its two terminal branches. This superficial fibular nerve for this peroneal compartment and this deep fibular nerve for this extensor or anterior compartment of the leg. So it arises in the substance of peroneus longus on the lateral side of the neck of the fibula. It enters the anterior compartment by piercing this anterior facial septum, which is attached to this anterior border of the fibula. Then it descends deep to the extensor digitorum longus, and here initially it lies between the extensor digitorum longus laterally and tibialis anterior medially. Then in the distal portion, this lies between the tibialis anterior and extensor hallucis longus. This extensor hallucis longus here lies laterally and the tibialis anterior it lies medially. And as it descends further, it first lies laterally, then it lies anterior, and finally it lies lateral to the anterior tibial artery. So it seems that this nerve it tries to cross this anterior tibial artery but hesitate to cross it, and that's why it is known as nervi hesitans. Now the branches, there are two set of branches. One is the muscular branches to the muscles of this compartment, and second is the articular branches which is given to the joints, ankle joint, distal tibiofibular joint and a twig from here to the proximal tibiofibular joint. And this is shown the division of common peroneal nerve at the neck of fibula into this deep peroneal nerve and superficial peroneal nerve in the substance of the peroneus longus. And this deep fibular nerve then it pierces this anterior facial septum and then it lies just anterior to the interosseous membrane and runs in this extensor compartment. Now this is the course of this nerve shown here, how it tries to cross the artery. So initially it is lying lateral to the artery, then in the mid portion it is lying just anterior to the anterior tibial artery, but again in the distal portion it is lying lateral to the artery. So it is like the nerve seems to cross the artery but hesitate to do so. That's why it is known as nervi hesitans. And here also shown this relation with the extensor hallucis longus which lies lateral to it in the distal portion of the leg, but then it crosses at the ankle joint, and then this tendon is lying medial to the artery. So this is the course of this deep fibular nerve. Now the applied aspect related to this, as we know, this crural fascia, it is a thick fascia and it is attached to this bony portion through this anterior and posterior facial septa. So these compartment, they are basically a very tight compartment, muscular compartment, and any sort of hematoma or damage to the muscles, they may give rise to compartment syndrome. And because of that, this nerve, especially this extensor compartment, it is a very tight compartment, very unyielding with respect to the posterior one, which is a bit yielding one. So there is a risk for compartment syndrome and compression of the nerve especially. And second, near the ankle, the tendon of tibialis anterior, extensor hallucis longus, extensor digitorum longus, they are close to the tibia and they may be injured by open fracture or by the callus formation during the healing of the fracture. So because of that, they may injure these tendons. This is the dissection overview. After we have removed this fascia, crural fascia, here are the muscles which are shown just lateral to the this shin of the tibia or this anterior border of the tibia. So this tendon which is felt just lateral to this is the tendon of tibialis anterior. You can always palpate that, feel that. This is the tendon of tibialis anterior just lying lateral to the shin of the tibia. Then is the tendon of extensor hallucis longus, and this is evident in the lower third of the leg, peeping through the gap between this extensor digitorum longus and tibialis anterior, and it is then attached to the hallux. And just lateral to this is the tendon of extensor digitorum longus, which divides into this four lateral slips, and last is the fibularis tertius, which often appears to be a fifth slip from this extensor digitorum longus. And when this tibialis anterior is separated or even it is removed, then this neurovascular portion is apparent. So here is this anterior tibial artery, and lying just lateral to is the defibular nerve. Now about the dorsum of the foot. Now the cutaneous innervation of the dorsum of the foot, the cutaneous nerve which supply the skin. This medial portion is supplied by the saphenous nerve, which is the branch of the femoral nerve and travels with the great saphenous vein. Then this mid portion of the dorsum, mostly it is supplied by the superficial peroneal nerve. Only this first cleft, it is supplied by the cutaneous branches from the deep peroneal nerve, and this lateral border, it is supplied by the sural nerve. Now this portion, it has this dorsal venous arch. It gets its supply from the perforating and muscular branches or the tributaries from the veins, and they form this dorsal venous arch, which has a medial continuation as saphenous vein and a lateral continuation, which is not shown here because it is just lying posterior to the lateral malleolus. This is the small saphenous vein. So there are two continuation from this dorsal venous arch. Medially it is the great saphenous vein, laterally it is the small saphenous vein. And just deeper to that, there are two muscles. though they are integrated and can be seen as the muscle which is known as extensor digitorum brevis with a medial slip which is going to the hallux, and this medial slip is known as the extensor hallucis brevis. So first is this extensor hallucis brevis. It originates from this dorsal surface of calcaneus and the deeper aspect of the stem of inferior extensor retinaculum, and this travels just deep to that of the tendon of extensor hallucis longus and uh, travels towards the hallux, and it is inserted into the base of the proximal phalanx of the hallux. So it gets its vascularity from the dorsalis pedis artery, which is the continuation of the anterior tibial artery, and gets innervation from the defibular nerve. And the action is to extend the first toe at the metatarsophalangeal joint. Now this extensor digitorum brevis, this is these lateral slips, three lateral slips. So it again originates as this common portion from the dorsal surface of the calcaneus and deeper aspect of the stem of inferior extensor retinaculum, and from here these three slips they diverge as tendon, and these three tendon they are attached to the lateral side of the tendon of extensor digitorum longus, and their vascularity is again dorsalis pedis artery. Innervation is by this defibular nerve, and they extend the medial they extend these three toe middle three toe at the metatarsophalangeal joint. The dorsalis pedis artery, as we know, this is the continuation of the anterior tibial artery beyond this ankle joint, and as it runs its course is it lies between the tendon of the extensor hallucis longus, which is lying medially, and the distal branch of the defibular nerve, which is lying laterally. Then it is crossed by the tendon of extensor hallucis brevis, and it runs to the base of the first intermetatarsal space, and here it passes down into the sole between the head of the first dorsal interossei to join the lateral plantar artery, and it completes the plantar arch. So its pulsation it can be felt lateral to the tendon of extensor hallucis longus tendon on a line from midpoint between the two malleoli towards the first cleft, where it lies on this navicular and cuneiform, medial cuneiform. Here its pulsation can be felt. And the branches of dorsalis pedis artery, they are two set of tarsal artery which arises at the level of navicular. This lateral tarsal artery passes beneath the tendon of the extensor digitorum brevis and supplies it, and then contributes around the anastomosis with the arcuate artery and the anastomosis around the lateral malleolus. And this medial tarsal artery passes beneath the tendon of extensor hallucis longus and that of the tibialis anterior, and contributes in the anastomosis around the medial malleolus. Then arcuate artery, it is given at the level of the medial cuneiform, and it is arc shaped. That's why this is known as the arcuate artery, and it gives rise to second to fourth dorsal metatarsal artery. Second, third, and fourth dorsal metatarsal artery, and these dorsal metatarsal artery they are the common one, and they bifurcate into the these dorsal distal branches in the cleft, and then it supplies the adjacent side of the toes, and as this artery dips down to complete the plantar arch, it gives this first dorsal metatarsal artery, and this first dorsal metatarsal artery again bifurcates to supply this portion, adjacent portion of this toes, hallux as well as this second. Now about this extensor expansion, also known as the dorsal distal expansion or extensor hood, and this is the same as the extensor expansion of the hand and the fingers. So of the toes they are similar, but they are only smaller, and it is this triangular aponeurotic sheath with a hood like appearance, which is base proximally and its apex distally, and it divides into this central slip and two lateral slip over the proximal phalanx, and this central slip, this is attached to the proximal phalanx, and this lateral slip, they are attached to the base of the distal phalanx, and these function as the compound tendinous attachment of extensor digitorum longus, of the lumbricals, and of the plantar and dorsal interossei. They lumbrical and these interossei, they are attached to this lateral slip, and this extensor digitorum longus, it is lying in the core in the central slip, and through these they function as unison as they causes the extension of the interphalangeal joint and flexion at the anterior compartment of leg.